Standard physics evaluates advanced propulsion and faster-than-light travel through the lens of effective field theory. Under this model, the boundaries of reality are usually drawn by energy requirements that approach infinity or by paradoxes that break causality. The geometric boundary projection, or GBP, framework provides a different set of boundaries. In GBP, space-time is not a pre-existing container that matter moves through. Instead, the familiar dimensions of space are actively generated and projected by the continuous winding of particles themselves. This winding happens on a mod 30 toroidal lattice. The rules here are governed strictly by topology. Matter routes through discrete pathways, meaning limits are defined by geometric permissions rather than raw energy scales. We can apply this framework to evaluate specific science fiction technologies. The objective is to separate concepts that are mathematically forbidden by this lattice from those that simply sit behind a massive engineering threshold. To map the true limits of the universe, we have to look past the energy curves of our current models and identify its strict topological prohibitions. The baseline reality in GBP is the T0 time substrate. This environment possesses time tension, allowing forward propagation, but it has absolutely zero spatial dimensions. Matter rests on this substrate as a formless GLE field. Observation forces it to collapse into a particle, opening local Hilbert spaces, Tx for left chirality, Ty for right. The alternating projection of these arcs sustains T0, the observable 3D space we interact with. Space does not exist independently. It is an ongoing action performed by the matter projecting it. Because space requires this continuous projection to exist, any absence of matter at a specific coordinate dictates the complete absence of spatial dimensions entirely. Consider a craft attempting to navigate backward along the time substrate to a coordinate 20 years in the past. The physical matter that generated the spatial dimensions of that era has continued to propagate forward. Its local, active spatial projections moved with it into the present. The destination isn't an empty vacuum. A craft arriving there finds the complete geometric absence of space. There is no dimensional structure to arrive into. The past is dimensionally closed. Time travel is a strict topological impossibility. It fails not because of potential grandfather paradoxes, but because geometry itself does not persist without present matter to project it. The theoretical model for an Alcubierre warp drive relies on exotic matter with negative energy density, a requirement with no known physical solution. GBP offers an alternative mechanism, the GOE bubble. If a coherent field surrounding a craft can be forced back into the unobserved GOE state, it stops fully projecting into observable space. This reduces the craft's interaction cross-section and its inertia. Total space-time decoupling is mathematically blocked. Wherever ambient matter exists, the bubble must resist reconnecting to normal space, creating physical drag. This residual projection is bounded by a mathematical floor called GEOB. Exactly 4.3% of normal inertia remains irreducible. To use this for propulsion, engineers would need to maintain macroscopic phase coherence for around 10 to the 26th particles, preventing them from decohering back into normal space. Condensed matter physics is already observing versions of this state. Recent experiments with room temperature polariton condensates demonstrate macroscopic phase coherence in microscopic cavities. Warp drives sit in Tier 2. They are geometrically permitted, but hindered by the engineering challenge of stabilizing a macroscopic coherent state above that mathematical floor. Under normal conditions, a particle cycles continuously through left and right chirality. It enters the Tx state, crosses to the Ty state, and repeats. Because these projections alternate perfectly, they cancel each other out, resulting in zero net force. Tractor beams avoid bulk spacetime manipulation entirely. They operate through a mechanism called helicity rectification. Applying a field tuned to a particle's 24-degree Hamiltonian beat forces a helicity flip. Instead of crossing to the opposite chirality, it re-enters the same side. This breaks natural symmetry, generating a directional force vector from its own winding energy. We already manipulate orbital angular momentum using optical metamaterials. Creating a tractor beam requires scaling this precise angular rectification from photons to massive particles. Evaluating physical limits through the winding lattice forces us to categorize the impossible with precise geometric distinctions. Concepts like time travel, isolated magnetic monopoles, and faster-than-light signaling fall into Tier 1. They are definitively barred by the topological closure of the universe. But other concepts occupy Tiers 2 through 4. There is a valid, scientifically sound path from theoretical GOE bubbles down to near-term helicity rectification devices. The geometric boundary projection framework demands that we separate insurmountable mathematical truths from the limits of human material engineering. To understand what we can eventually build, we first have to map the strict geometric constraints of the universe. That is the only way to find the actual boundary between science fiction and future engineering.